Om Shanti, and warm welcome to day 3 of our Churning and Writing Retreat. We had a very good day yesterday with Brother Tim from the UK, and very practical, and I know that many of you enjoyed it a lot. And in the afternoon we had small group sessions, and I also got the messages from few of you who were just sharing that, how the small groups were so fruitful. And in the small groups, they came together to churn together on a specific topic. So the group chose one topic together to churn on. And I think this is maybe something we don't do that often, but as I said, I heard from a few that they really enjoyed it a lot. And there will be another chance later this evening. But this morning's session is also very interesting. We have been focusing more on churning up to now. And of course, in this session, Sister Aruna, who will be with us, she will also share about churning, but especially about writing. And I think maybe most of you know her, but she is someone who has been practicing meditation for many, many years, over 37 years. And it's even longer since she got to know the Brahma Kumaris. She lives in Kuwait currently, but she has been helping to establish or support centers in many other countries. Canada, Turkey, Bahrain, and of course Kuwait. She has written many books, and she has created a blog that some of you may know, and I think it's interesting actually for us participants of this retreat to explore her blog. And the website of the blog and everything is in the information that you got sent this morning. She's also someone who is very experimental. I think some of you may have experimented with her in the meditation laboratory. I personally enjoyed it a lot. I've done it several times. She used to conduct those laboratories to deepen the experience of soul consciousness. So those were great. She's also has initiated many very good BK sustenance classes. Kuwait with Aruna, they are the ones who are organizing the Murli revision with Gentiben. That are on all Mondays. So that's great. And she's just such a resourceful person. I had the fortune to be with her in a team which she coordinated. It was a BK sustenance project. And what I loved about working with Aruna was that she was so hands-on. She was someone who would really, there were many tasks to be done, but she would never be ordering all of us to do anything, but she would go ahead and kind of do it herself, and everyone else would be so inspired to join. And I think also what I appreciate a lot is that she puts the standards high. So she would always aim for the highest quality. And yeah, that's something that I just appreciate a lot. And she would kind of push us, herself and us as well, to really get the best out of it, but always in a healthy and loving way. So we are very pleased to have you with us today, Aruna, and look very much forward to listening to you. So over to you.
Thank you, Stefania, for that very lovely, warm welcome. And a good morning. I think it's a good morning almost everywhere. So good morning to everyone. One second, I like to see. So whoever would like, please do leave your cameras on. I'm in gallery mode. So yeah, let's just take a moment after that, and maybe you can ask yourself, why is it important to churn? So this is the question we're asking ourselves, just 30 seconds. Why is it important to churn? Okay. So maybe I'll just begin with a little of my background. So yes, I was in London, then I went to Canada. And then I was in Istanbul, but when I came to Bahrain, then, as you know, the service in the Middle East is very different, and you kind of have to do things differently. And I realized that we have to give gyan in a very, very diluted manner. So you cannot just give them straight gyan. And so you have to give them gyan, knowledge, in, like we say, the slow drip method. So, you know, when you have somebody on the drip, and drip by drip, drop by drop, they're getting the knowledge. So say, for example, you had somebody in one lesson and it's about the soul, but you have to drag the soul lesson for, say, five evenings. So what do you say? So you have to think, and you have to churn, and you have to, you know, bring in different elements and stories. And so that's where all this was a good training. Istanbul was good also, but Istanbul and Turkey is a little more westernized, a little more open. But when I came to Middle East, then I really had to learn the ropes. Now, that's not the only thing, but then we started having a database of people. And so every week I would just send them the message, oh, seminar this week, or course this week. And so I thought, let me send them something a little more spiritual. And that's when I started to write just one little paragraph of some gyan, churning, like what is tolerance, whatever we think is practical for people to have. And that I was calling This Week. So together with the announcement, I would say this week and a para. And then I did that for a few years. And that was while I was in Bahrain. But then when I came back to Kuwait, I went to Canada again, came back then to Kuwait. So when I came back to Kuwait, I thought, okay, let's do something different. And that was the birth of It's Time. So I came back to Kuwait in 2008, and 2009, I started It's Time. And I know sometimes people wonder why I have a blog, but it really started from that place of, you know, giving gyan, but not in a direct Brahma Kumari's way. And I was trying to give knowledge through an indirect way. And that's how It's Time started. And then I started writing articles of 500, 600 words. And I started posting them. And probably if you read those early writings and you read them now, you'll see that, you know, I have developed. And I never imagined that I would be a writer. In fact, in my very early days when I was working in London, and I was actually assisting Dadi and Gentiben, but then in my spare time, I would write. And again, I would write little prose, poetry, or just little stories. And Brother Neville used to be in the London Centre then, not in Oxford. And so I used to say, Brother Neville, can you check this for me, please? And he would return it with so much red ink because it was not only the grammar that was wrong, but he said, this doesn't make sense. And I did. Of course, I got disheartened and I got disappointed. But then again, I would go back to him, not next week, but a few weeks later, and I would say, Brother Neville, Brother Neville. But of course, he was doing his job. And he was, as Stefania said, he was, you know, pulling the bar up and raising the standard. So even today, where are they? Yeah, so I mean, honestly speaking, I don't consider myself a writer. These are the books that have been mentioned, but these are just a collection of articles. And why these came to be is Gemini Ben, actually, thanks to Gemini Ben and Girish Bhai. Girish Bhai is one of the trustees of the Brahma Kumaris in London. And he was also helping Gemini Ben in the media, the literature department. And so both of them felt that these would be good to put in a book. And that's the thought. I mean, I would never say, let's do this. So they said, let's put it in the form of a book. And then she'd say, next year, do you want to do another one? I said, sure. And that's how these books came about. And I will talk about them a bit later in terms of the writing. But I just want to say that, yeah, that was my beginning. And really, I never thought I could write. So any of you out there who think I can't write, really, there is hope. Because I think when you start doing something for Baba and Baba's service, then Baba really helps and Baba works through you. And there have been many times where I come and sit at this keyboard and, you know, because then every week I had to deliver, because then there was a following on the blog. And so then I'd have to write something, even though I wasn't inspired. And I would just come, I'd put my fingers on the keyboard and I say, okay, Baba, what now? What this week? And really something would start typing away, and then letters would form a word. And then I'd say, oh, that's nice. And then I would start, you know, developing it. So I have had wonderful experiences like that of really allowing Baba to come in and just help and, you know, help me to write. So yes, what inspired me? So this is the topic today, is be inspired. So what inspired me? So basically, yeah, one other thing I want to add is, you know, this writing and this blog has really helped me to stay away from a lot of Maya. And I'm saying that because my mind all week was focused on, okay, what would be the next interesting thing to write about? What would be the next interesting thing to say? And so my intellect was engaged in trying to find something from the Murli, or something that's happening, an event, somebody says something, there's a conversation. And then I'd say, oh, that's nice. But, you know, I realized that when something really struck me, I could write more easily. Like it would flow. It wasn't a struggle. I didn't have to think hard. And so that's why I'm saying to you, be inspired by something and then work on that, and not for the sake of it. See, in the Lokik world, when people have to write things for magazines, etc., they're doing it as a job. And they're asked to deliver something every day or every week. And that's like a machine. It's a machinery at work. But everything that Baba's children do, they put their heart into it. They put their love into it. And so same with now this retreat, and I hope you will continue, but I think it's so important to write and churn or even draw, like some people draw the points or draw one point of knowledge. I think that's so important because all of us are so much in our left brain all the time. Especially Brahmin life, we're doing so much in a short time, and we're having to pack this in and that in and be organized and organize events, etc. So we really need to step out of that and come into the right brain, which is more the creativity. And this is why I do it. This is why I make the time to write. Even if there wasn't a blog, I think I would be, because one, I'm writing to get into my creative headspace. But second, I'm writing and churning because I want to understand it better. Now, why should I understand? Because when I understand, then I make a shift. Then I make a click. Right? Why is it that you all want your Murli in your own language? If a German person hears the English Murli, even though it's the truth, but why do they want it in the German language or Greek language or Japanese? Because we want to be able to understand it. And so that is one level of understanding, right? That I would call is the technical still. But then when we're hearing the Murli, are we just hearing the Murli or are we feeling the Murli? When we hear the Murli, as we feel the Murli, that's what's making us understand it more deeply. Like, for example, Baba says something, but it's not what he said, but it's the feeling you're left with when he said it. Right? So even something like sweet children. Okay, sweet to you might mean sugar, dumpling, cake, whatever, but sweet children is like, oh, I'm that. Oh, he sees me like that. And suddenly your self-respect is boosted. So it's the feeling we get from understanding the Murli, that feeling is then left with us, you see? And that's why it's so important to churn, because Baba's just giving us the fact, right? So let me say, for example, like this morning we were, every Saturday morning we have Dharana class. And so this morning we took up the topic of courage. And what is courage? Why courage? When courage? Who courage? Anyway, I'll come to the mind map and I'll show you then. But just to tell you that when we are churning the point and different people are giving their different ideas and contexts in which they are using courage, we get a much more broader definition of that word. And again, it's not the words, but it's the feeling that you're left with. Let me ask you, all of you who have, I'm sure everybody's been to Madhuban, right? Most of you. You've been to Madhuban. Do you remember any single class from Madhuban? You do? Or do you remember the feeling you were left with after hearing the class? And this is the point, yeah? It's the feeling. So the thing is, it's great. We hear the Murli every day because we want the feeling. And it's the feeling that will help us to shift in our sanskars. And that's why understanding is important. So it's not enough to just hear the Murli. I have to take at least 1 or 2 points, churn on it, and that's the homework I will give you. Okay, I would like to share with you one picture from, 1 second. Yeah, I would like to share a picture with you, which is the churning of the ocean that Baba talks about. And this is from Hindu mythology. And the deities and the devils were churning. I can't get to it now. Where is it? Ah, here. Can you see? Can you see that?
Yes, we see the picture.
Okay. Yeah, the picture. Yeah. So let me just, yeah. Okay. Okay, so this is actually the churning of the ocean. Okay. So anyway, you know how many, there's story upon story in Hinduism. So basically what happened is the deities on the left had lost their powers. Now that's another story, how they lost their powers. And so Vishnu said, why don't you, have this, in a way, competition with the devils? And whoever wins, they will, whatever jewels that emerge from under the ocean, they will inherit those jewels and those powers. So in other words, what we say is our virtues and powers. And so this snake, as you can see, right, that's a snake. So each one has to pull the snake fully onto their side. Now that's another story again, why initially the head was on the deity side. And the devil said, no, because all the poo and everything comes out from the backside. So we want the head side and you hold the tail side. So this was Vishnu's trick, reverse psychology, because he actually wanted the deities to hold on to the tail, because on the head side, when you pull the snake, then what comes out is all the poison. So why I'm sharing this is because Vishnu was trying to help the deities in this game or in this competition. And so eventually, of course, the deities win, and then all the jewels, anyway, it's all there in Wikipedia if you want to know the full story. But basically, this is what's known as the Samudra Manthan, which is called churning of the ocean, and then all the jewels emerged. So this is why we need to, this is why we need to churn the ocean. And basically, unless we churn, we cannot extract the butter. This is the point, right? When we churn the milk, see, when we have the milk, we don't know what is the potential of that milk till we churn that milk. So when we churn the milk, then we get this buttermilk or we get the butter. And the same for ice cream. You know, we have to actually spin the ice cream and then it turns out fluffy, or the cream, the liquid has to turn into the cream. And then of course it's much tastier. And so the same here, and there's also another expression Baba uses in Hindi, right? Apni god to nasha chade, which means if you grind your own ingredients, then you are intoxicated. So this is the analogy of mortar and pestle, and you put the herbs and then you grind. And then of course the smell, the fragrance is much different than just the leaves. And so really when we get into a point and churn the point and have self-realization of that point, we feel so much better and we feel so good, right? So that's what I wanted to say on that. Okay, now what I'd like to do is, again, I will show you. What I'd like to do now is I'm going to just play a little music and show you some pictures, and whatever you understand from the picture, however you are inspired from the picture, you can just make a little note of that, right? In your head or on paper, up to you, but I will just let the slides pass. And yeah. Oops, you're seeing your homework. Okay. 1 second, play some music. Okay, so try and get into a little meditative state and just see what comes to you, okay? Right. And so what is important is, as you saw all those pictures, right, you must have noted something of, I hope, I'm sure there was a thought that emerged as a result of seeing those pictures. So one of the important things about churning or about preparing your lecture, your speech, whatever, even an article, is learning to question. And this is an art. And I'm not saying I've mastered it, but I realize it is an art, because when we create the right questions, then we get clarity. And not only clarity from our head, but we inspire or extract clarity from others. And one example I would like to give you is Leonardo da Vinci. And Leonardo da Vinci said that, as you know, he actually was not only an artist, but he was also an inventor. And one of the questions he asked is, how can we get the water to come to us when people were going to fetch water at the wells? And just that one question gave birth to the underground water lines. And he also invented, he saw this, I forget what it's called. It's not mistletoe, but it's like this feathery thing that it's a seed with a wing. And then he saw that falling like this to the ground. And that's how he created that's how the wings of the helicopter were created. So you can see that when people look at things, then they apply them to life, and then that becomes the seed. That thought becomes the seed for the invention. Even these water gates, that you have in the canal, this is actually inspired from our valves, because our valves have blood going up, but when the blood goes up, they open and then they close again. So the blood doesn't come down again. And so the same applies to these water canals, you see? So anyway, the point is people are getting inspired from the things that are around them. And this is what I'm asking you to do. So I'm just going to take a few of the pictures we went through. And this is perhaps what you might like to ask, right? Where does this road lead to? And then you start imagining, and then you start being creative. Right? And that's how these fairy tales start, right? Once upon a time, long, long ago, in the woods, there lived a this or that. And it's all imagination. Actually, I just remembered Harry Potter's author. Who was that? Oh my goodness, how can I forget? Anyway, she was actually jobless. She was unemployed. And so she was going on the buses, the London buses, for interviews. And sometimes, because she couldn't afford the train, she couldn't afford taxi, she could only afford the bus. So she would be sitting on these long bus journeys, and she was writing the Harry Potter series. And as you can see, it became a hit, and she's a multimillionaire. So basically, yeah, learning to question, okay, what if the wood, what if the trees, the wood were yellow? What would it be like? Just to think outside the box. Again, another question. What is the view from the moon? Does the moon not feel lonely or scared of the dark? Now, what must be his or her day be like? And then you start writing about that, or you start thinking about it, you start imagining it. Look at her face. And I mean, I love the smile, but look at the wrinkles. And every wrinkle is telling us a story. Every wrinkle is telling us an experience, just like the rings on the tree or rings in the tree. When we think of this picture, Again, I don't know what comes up for you, but it's the mother. How the mother is just so caring, nurturing. Look at her love, her endurance. What is it like? Her patience. And then what can we learn from animals? This lady, how do you think she deals with disappointment every day? She's meant to be, well, it says in the picture, she's a beggar. So how do you think she feels every day when she doesn't get what she wants? And what enables renunciation? What inspires somebody to become a renunciate? And would I really like to live on an island? As much as this looks, as beautiful as it looks, and as attractive as it may look, but do I really? What are the pros and cons of living on an island? And although, yeah, I like the water, but I'm not sure I like these big waves. So what are the qualities of the surfer? What does it take to be a surfer? And how do I overcome my fears? This is actually an atom bomb. Now, this is another thought to think about. You see, if you look at the left window, the bottom of the left window, you can see how dirty it is, right? But yet we look through that to try and get a glimpse of what's outside, because outside is much more beautiful than what's on the window. And so my question is, why is it that we cannot look through persons' defects? Why do we get stuck on their defect? Like, we don't get stuck on the window, right? We look beyond the window. So why is it that I get stuck with the dirt and the defect of somebody? Okay, so I'll just stop this a second. Well, maybe I'll share it because I'm not technical. Okay, so let's talk about mind mapping a little bit. So I do this all the time, and I'll show you my work. But if I have to give a talk or a presentation, or if I want to just simply churn, then this is what I do. And one thing I really want to say is, nothing is wrong. Never think that any churning is wrong. Everything's good, everything's fine, and everything would trigger something else. So I just put the word purity, right? This is like a mind map. It's a very simple one. You can make a subgroup and other subgroups. But for me, I just said, okay, purity. So of course, purity reminds us of Raksha Bandhan. Purity reminds us of Baba, the ever pure one, the ocean of purity. Purity in thoughts, words, deeds. Purity is synonymous with being clean and honest and truthful, being detached. It's full, complete. I mean, just jot down the words. And when you do that, then, if you had to give a talk and you spoke even, 2 minutes on each of these things, you've easily got a 15, 20-minute talk. Because then you say, with purity, we're able to do this, purity does that, purity enables that. And maybe then you add a story in between, you heard of a good story, you stick that in somewhere. And there you've got your half an hour talk. Okay. So, yeah, I want to show you, just to show you that I do this all the time. So for every talk, this was on mental fasting. This was on easy effort maker in Hindi. This is actually on Maya and detachment. And then I keep these all in a folder, then you can refer back to them. Economy, I had to give a talk on economy. I had to give a talk on Didi Manmohini to the Hindi Walas. So that is that. Do you see the point? Yeah, and you just jot. And it always helps. And you know, I'm a visual person. So when I see things, then it's easy for me to remember. So I have to write. Even if you tell me something, if I write it and I see it, then that stays with me more than if you just told me. So you also have to get to know yourself. Are you an audio person or a visual person? And in that way, then you work with your, you know, your side. So let's just go back to the screen. Sorry. Yeah, so here, yeah, so what I'd like you to do, okay, is I'd like you to look out at your natural world. So I don't want you to have your head in the TV or YouTube or anything like that. And what I mean about natural world is also anything happening around you in your house. So it's not just nature as such. Nature speaks to us a lot as well. And it was lovely. Actually, I was going to talk about the tree, but then I noticed that Brother Jim talked about the tree because I also love the tree a lot. And the tree has so much meaning in terms of the roots, in terms of the you know, the pillar, the torso, as I call it, and then how it spans out. And at the moment, we've got lovely date trees and lots of dates growing on them. So they're looking very full and rich. So yeah, you find your own symbology in the blade of grass, in the opening of the rose, in the, or the blossoming of any flower, even the butterfly or the bees that come and suck the nectar from your flowers, you know, anything, but just be an observer. So between now and I guess your 4 or 5 o'clock, just be an observer and just look out. Don't try and think hard. And this was another thing that Didi used to tell Dadi Janki, because Dadi Janki used to make very intense effort. And so one day Didi said to her, "What are you doing? You make effort in a very intense way." And Didi basically said to her, "Just chill." And then after that, Dadi started to relax more into her effort. So this is what I'm telling you, just relax into your life, into your effort, and just see what comes to you. And that's why I'm saying, when you see what comes to you, then ask yourself why. And just reflect on it a while, okay? And when you do that, then you start the mind map. And then you put that word in the middle of your page and just start, you know, whatever's the thought, just stem out from that and just start adding different words. And really, I'm telling you, nothing is wrong. So don't say, "Oh no, I can't put that and I can't put that." In fact, all of you, I mean, you don't have to show anyone. You're only showing it to yourself. So just flow with it, just ride with it and just write away. Yeah. Okay, and the other homework is to take a point from the Murli, right? So like, for example, this morning, Baba was talking a lot about the importance of settling. Well, he said settle accounts, but I'm saying, what is the importance of settling my karmic account? Why should I settle my karmic account? So this is where I go back to the questioning. If you question, then you come up with the answer. So why should I settle my karmic account? What are the advantages of settling my karmic account? What happens when I don't? What are the consequences of not settling my karmic account? Do I know anyone who's settled their karmic account? What do they look like? What do they feel like? What do they experience? Different types of karmic account, what are they? Do you see? And then you just question, and this is, oh yeah, I have to add this. So yeah, Baba teaches us not to question, but I'm saying question to get meaning and purpose out of the knowledge, which I think is okay, is good. But Baba says, don't question to doubt, you know, don't question. Okay, and then in terms of the writing, yeah, so what I want to say here, as I said to you in the beginning, be inspired by it yourself first. So like, for example, really most of these things, most of them, 98, 99% of the stuff that I have written about is something I've experienced. Like say, for example, here, learning to say no. It's because I had to go through that then I say, okay, let me write about it. Don't just expect, but reflect. Yes, emotional proximity, what is it? And really, I'm telling you, most of these things I've experienced, and then I think about it, reflect on it, and then I write about it. So that's why I'm saying to you, get inspired by something first before you start just, you know, don't do it from your head. In other words, do it from your heart. And actually, that was what came up in the churning this morning about courage. Core, or C-O-R, core, I don't know how you say it in Latin, but that also means that which comes from the heart. So when we have courage, then we are actually acting or being inspired from our heart. So when you have an act of courage, you're not in your head, shall I do this or not? No, you jump from your heart and you do it. So back to this, yeah, be inspired. Start small, as I said. Don't think of writing a big book or a novel or a big report or any large document. No, start small. So today I'm saying to you, just write half a page. Maybe in the next few days, you can write 1 page. And then what's your message that you want to convey? Try and get that clear into your head. So normally the title becomes your message. So my last article on the blog, you will see, is about being tired. And of course, I was inspired by Baba's Murli, because Baba said, what is tiredness? And then again, we had churning on that here. And so, yeah, I want to convey the message to the people that, you know, what you think is making you tired is not making you tired, but it's the thoughts in your head that is making you tired. And so that was the essence. And then you start with a beginning, middle, and end. So introduction, what's the topic, a little bit in the middle, and then conclusion. So how to overcome tiredness. So once you have these, even if you have 3 lines, beginning, middle, end, then you start to fill that in with a few examples and a few stories and, you know, a little more explanation. And that's how you then start to build the body of that paragraph. And yes, try and make it story-like if you can, because, you know, people like stories, and stories stay in people's head. Even if you listen to somebody's talk, if they tell you a story, why do they like the story, and why does the story stay? Because the story has a beginning, middle, and end. So this person went here and took that and got that, and then this happened. And it's so easy to retain it in your head. So that's why I'm saying as much as possible. Maybe it's not always possible, but as much as possible. And then the conclusion or essence. So what are the takeaways? What do you want them to take away from what you are writing about or your message? And write that clearly. So that's why mostly I have at the end of mine, it's time, and then I have a line. And, you know, that's what stays with them. So maybe I've overspoken, but these are a few of the thoughts I had to share with all of you. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aruna Ben. Thank you for actually allowing us to look into your own journey and behind the scenes, you can say, once in terms of your progress, starting with someone like Neville, putting a lot of red ink on your writing, but then also how you developed and how it evolved, and now have such a huge practice of it and writing articles and books. That was really, really helpful, I think, for us to, because often we just see, you know, the end result and don't see the journey, and it's much more inspiring for one if you can see the journey, because then you can also identify with your own journey more. And also it felt like a very how-to question. I mean, the whole session, the whole retreat is a how-to retreat, but you really led us through the practices. And I think it's an amazing idea to take a picture and start with a question. And then from the question, what is inspiring me in writing? I won't repeat all of it, but it's just something where I think it's really valuable to go back to again and again. And we put the recording as well as every other event on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much. And I saw there are some questions that have come in, and Stefania, you're prepared to ask them to Aruna Ben.
And I think it's clear, right, that these were pictures on the screen, but there's pictures in real life too, right? I think it's clear. So whatever you're looking at, you know, like you might see somebody with a broken leg, and so then again you ask, what might they be going through? And then that creates compassion, or do you see, good wishes, pure feelings. Yeah.
So we have now time for questions. So if you have any questions for Aruna, please put them in the chat. I have one question myself. You mentioned about serving in Kuwait, how you have to kind of dilute the knowledge or give them in a drop form. And it's actually my experience as well, even if I'm not in the Middle East. Seems like souls are becoming weaker somehow. So I wonder, do you think this is the direction? I mean, do you think this will happen more and more, that we have to give the knowledge in a drop form and give them more the experience rather than the full knowledge? What is your feeling?
I do think that, people cannot take straight knowledge. I do think that they cannot take it all. And so they have to be given it bit by bit in slow doses. And also because Maya is much stronger now. Ravan is much more fearsome now, that there's the fear. Even this morning, somebody who's been coming here for 3 years. So in our Dharana class, he was saying that, he said, I want to practice everything that Baba's telling me. But then as soon as I say yes, then the fear kicks in. And so we talked about that a little bit. What's the fear? Why the fear? So even though one might realize, but there's the resistance.
Someone is asking here, is it possible to share the sister's email ID with us? So they want your email address, Aruna, and also mentioning, you want to respond?
They can write to the info@itsTimeToMeditate.org. Info@itsTimeToMeditate.org.
Yeah.
And somebody, yes, nicely, kindly replied that the Harry Potter author is J.K. Rowling. She was the one who, would sit on the red buses in London and write away.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Someone was asking about, let me see, someone is saying, do you speak about experience? The experience makes a feeling, isn't it? This question came kind of at the beginning, actually. Maybe, I'm not sure. Like the experience makes a feeling.
They're asking if we should share the experience, right?
It says, do you speak about experience? The experience makes a feeling, isn't it? It sounds like this from the chat.
Okay. Well, definitely. I think, when this is, this is, okay, let me share another private story. So when I was working with Sister Jayanti, then that time, this was back in the early 90s. So I was always in the office, mostly in the office, not even in the kitchen, and day and night working with Dadi and Jayanti with correspondence or this or that or the other. And then from time to time, somebody would say, can you come and meet the people in the intensive? So in Global House, we used to have that one-day intensive, and Brother Nick used to take care of that. So he asked me to come and share for half an hour. And so I agreed, and I didn't have much experience. But anyway, I went. And after 10 minutes of speaking, then I said, okay, any questions now? Because I didn't have anything to share. And then after that, I went straight to Sister Jayanti in the office. And she asked how it was. And I said, I only spoke like 10, 12 minutes. And then she said, but you have to prepare. And then she said to me, she goes, if all else fails, then you start sharing your experience. And I never forgot that. And so this is, again, I'm passing this advice to you that, yeah, if you can't remember the fact of that topic or this or that, start sharing something of your own experience. And people do like that because they think you're being authentic and real, and they can relate to it perhaps. And it's not just something from your head. So yeah, sharing experience is important.
I think that even gets us into the right flow, because when we start speaking from our heart, something else emerges and everything, flows so naturally that, yeah, it's a good point. Yes, there is a question here: how to do time management. Writing takes a different mood and state of mind. Often we are so busy and more in a management or organizing state of mind, which is totally different. How to switch better between these consciousness.
So you have to, find your best time, actually. So your best time could be after Amrit Vela, your best time might be after Murli, your best time might be after you've cleared everything from breakfast, 9, 10 o'clock. Your best time might be 4, 5 o'clock after you've rested a bit, if you had a chance to rest, or in the evening, say 9, 9:30. So you have to find what is your best time. But yeah, it has to be your time. And it has to be undisturbed time, where you don't feel somebody will need your attention. So it's really like that personal space. But for each one, it will be different. Maybe after the 7 p.m. meditation, maybe 7:30. But see where it is that you can fit in. And you just need, the thing with this is once you start, you will get a flavor for it. And then you'll want to do it. Because when I started writing, then I started to have deeper realizations. And then I wanted to write more. I wanted to churn more. I wanted to see how things tick more. And then I was self-motivated. So what I'm saying is, once you start, you will want to do more. And then any time will be a good time.
Do you consciously, I thought it was interesting how you spoke about the left and right side of the brain, because I think many of us feel this left brain, so much is going on with organizing and planning. Do you consciously do something to activate the right brain, like even every day, or is it like part of your routine almost?
I really, really try, because I know the importance of it. Because, again, honestly speaking, if we get into the right brain, we are killing the ego. If we get into the right brain, we are killing the body consciousness. It's the left brain that is a body conscious mode, that everything has to be right and perfect. But in right brain, where we become childlike, innocent, creative, playful. So in that mode, it doesn't matter whether something is good or not. And I doodle and I do things, and I put them on my Instagram. And I tell people, don't worry about what others think. Just do it because you enjoy doing it. And when you enjoy doing it, it's given you that pleasure. And it's not just the joy, but as I said, it kicks you out of wanting to be perfect. And that's what I need to do for myself. So that's why I do it. And actually, Michelle, some of you might know Michelle Pfeiffer. She's not the actress, but Baba's child. So she was living with us for like 4 years in Kuwait, and then she moved back to Canada. So she really helped because she would just find 10, 15 minutes, take a rock and paint it, or take a tile. We'd find tiles or shells from the sea and she would paint it. Or she'd come to my room with something. And so she really inspired that. And then we got a book, and I have a book, and then I try to draw or just, you have to, for your self-progress, see it as self-progress. And don't see it as, oh, this is so childish, or this is a time waster. No, because I had those attitudes as well. But again, you know, when you see the benefit of something, then you do it. Yes, like intuitive drawing, exactly. So when you just, you know, take a pen, colored pen or paintbrush and just, you know, do, you just feel good. You step away from one part of you into another part of you, and that's what's nice about it. Or mixed media, you know, just with mixed media, taking different things, gluing them together, just, it's lovely.
Very nice. One other question. Do you think it's important when we are writing that we actually share it? Like you have been making these articles, you know, that we actually complete what we are doing and we put it out, share it with someone in whatever form that may be? Or is it enough that we just do it for ourselves without completing it, kind of?
Well, it's really personal choice. I mean, you're doing it for you. And if you think it's valuable and serviceable, then yes, why not? Put it out there. As it benefited you, it will benefit others.
Mm-hmm.
So why not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, it's like, again, back to this ocean that they, you know, they found all the jewels and treasures in the ocean. So they can't just keep it to themselves. You have to now share it. So if you found a gem or a pearl, you have to share it.
It'll probably happen naturally. Probably something will come up in the drama or an opportunity or something. I'm thinking now it's so often like that. If we prepare something, there will be an opportunity to give it.
Or start a blog, or start a blog or collect things for your, you know, to make it into a book or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you never know. Just keep collecting and doing. But as I said, it's really more for our personal growth. I honestly never did this thinking that it would turn into a book. Or it would turn into a blog even. I was just sending them out to our database, and one thing led to another, as you see, and yeah.
Wonderful. I think we are almost coming to an end of the session. So if there are no questions, if anyone has a burning question, you can put it in the chat. But otherwise, I would like to invite Caroline to step in again. Thank you so much.
Thank
Aruna,
you.
it has been really, really insightful.
Great job. Thank you. I think it's a really great initiative, this retreat, and I'm really glad that you guys had this thought, and it's great.
It was a little bit of selfishness, I think, because we ourselves wanted to get some more like inspiration. Yeah. So we just thought, why not, you know, invite others to join us as well. So yeah.
Lots of
Caroline.
Okay, yeah, so we are coming to an end, and before Aruna Ben will lead us into a meditation, I just respond to a question from yesterday. We mentioned the London Merle class and the churning afterwards. If you like to join that, you find the information in the chat. And then otherwise we meet again in the afternoon at 5 o'clock European time. And yesterday you spent a nice time in the relatively long time in the breakout group. If you want us to give feedback on, for example, if you need a little bit more time, or also a little bit about what you churned and how it went, please do so. Just write us an email, and we can share that with everyone in the beginning. Okay, then thank you, and see you later in the afternoon. Where we find the things in the recording is another question here. I will put the YouTube channel again into the chat here, so you find everything there, and even the session now from Aruna Ben will be there in just a few hours, or maybe not even an hour. Thank you so much, and hand over to you, Aruna Ben.
Thank you. Okay, so just sit comfortably and just try not to hold on to anything. And what I'd like us to do now is to actually visualize my perfect form. So there's my present form, and then there's my future perfect form. And this is something that Brahma Baba was doing frequently. He would send a trance messenger to actually give him more details about his subtle form. So I would like us to visualize, if there was a perfect me, what would that look like? Maybe more calmer, more patient, more generous, more forgiving. And now I'd like us to see what is the distance between this form and that form. And now I see myself walking towards that form. I'm walking on a path of light. Towards my perfect form. And I now merge with that light. And now, like a lighthouse, I begin to spread my light. Giving peace to the peaceless souls. Creating an atmosphere of peace. I am like that walking light bulb, just radiating my light. Om Shanti.